Hi, this is Roger, thanks for dropping by. As part of this mid-season update, the idea is to take advantage of when things get watered, sort of a shelf or two at a time, film them, and then slowly but surely I'll get through them all. Well, the only pots that are getting watered today are the holey clay pots. I'll do them quickly because they haven't long been filmed, but it would be silly to miss them out as there are quite a few of them. So let's have a look at those as we go along. This is the Brassolaeliocattleya, Mr. Sulky at the moment. It's objected to coming off the mount basically, which was sort of expected, but it's just sitting there doing nothing at the moment. It's hydrated now, which is good because it wasn't very hydrated before, but there's no sign of a new growth at the moment, so still waiting on that one. And this is the Brassolaeliocattleya make. This came from Ronja, and it's taking off now. I knew it would, it was just a matter of when. I mean, it had a good root system. It's in an ideal sort of place to grow it, and it's now pushing out new growths all over the place. So we've got stacks of new growths and new roots pushing out in quite a lot of places. So this one's really sort of taking off at the moment. It's really getting going. I can see probably well, at least 8 or 9 new growths on that, so that's pushing on nicely. It's highly likely that at least some of those new growths should bloom, but I'm reliably told it's a late autumn, early winter blooming. So those growths have still got plenty of time to mature, so hopefully we'll see some blooms on that late in the year. Now, this is a pot full of Bulbophyllum Elizabeth Ann Buckleberry, and it was put in as several pieces, including 3 back bulb divisions with new growths on, just starting basically. And it's in a bit of a muddle in as much as it's difficult to tell which bits are the back bulbs and which bits are extensions of the things. But there's plenty of new growths coming on this, a couple of nice ones coming up the middle. There's another one buried in there, coming up sideways. Gives that room that needs to come out above that leaf, not below it. Stand it up. So and there's one here. That one's new. Another new one here. Another couple over here. So it's got stacks of new growths on. I don't expect any of the existing bulbs to actually bloom. It's got to mature these new growths before it's going to produce spikes. And depending on the rate at which they mature and whether they mature together or in stages, the bloom should follow once all these new growths actually mature. Why I say the older bulbs won't bloom is because they already have, if you see what I mean, because I've had the pieces of the plants that went in there. The larger pieces were mine anyway, so I know that all of the bulbs on there had bloomed, and it's just the new growths we're waiting for. The back bulb extensions, a single shriveled back bulb with a single new growth, that might not bloom. In fact, it's unlikely to, but there should be some maturing growths that will bloom on that down the line a bit. I'm hoping to end up with a huge pot full here with the number of new growths, which will then push on more new growths, etc. So we should have a big pot full one day. Well, this is the other community pot. There's 4 plants in here, 2 of which had very poor roots. The other 2 weren't that good, come to think of it. But it's starting to take now. It is producing quite a few new roots, both down in the pot, across the pot, out the side of the pot. So it's getting a decent root system established now. It has pushed up several new growths, some of which were a bit weak, and some of which got too much light. But this one here has signs of a sheath, as does this one. So we may get some blooms on these latest 2 largest new growths, the others probably not. But the pieces are growing now. I think all the pieces have got some roots on them, some more than others. So it's sort of pushing on. It will take time to become well established, but there's another new one there that's maturing. Anyway, there are some growths on there that should bloom. When, I don't know, but certainly this one's showing signs down in here. Maybe. We'll see how it goes. But it definitely at one point was getting too much light. These 2 new growths were early in the year before the shade netting went on. and they didn't like the bright light as young growths. The next ones are, you know, reasonable colour, so it's doing okay now. I think it's okay with the light level it's getting. I forgot to say, Laelia Pradit spots, that is. They are. This was one of the newer acquisitions during last year. This is pushing out a lot of roots. I mean, all of these are new roots down here, some of which are branching, but it's still producing new roots. The new growths on this one are here and here, and that one has a sheath, and I'm told this is quite a mature plant. It is blooming size. We always have to wait and see, because often a disturbance and travel, change of environments can actually inhibit buds, basically. So we'll have to wait and see. Not quite sure what this growth is doing. I mean, it is officially a bifoliate, so in theory that's the other leaf. But sometimes they'll push up a bulb with a single leaf. Anyway, it's got a long name, that one. It's Cattleya Little Lemon Drops crossed with Cattletonia Why Not. I'm not going over the story why it's called Why Not again. But this one's coming on, as I say, with a root system like that and two healthy new growths, we should see some blooms on that. Now that'll be interesting to see what they come out like. Well, this is Laelia anceps, and boy, this is easy to forget when I'm watering, because it's the only holey clay pot that lives on the floor. And it actually lives in the line of fire of the inlet fan, down with these cooler growers, because that's what it is. Yes, it might be in the Cattleya Alliance, but it naturally grows much cooler. It comes from higher up. Yeah, so it's a cooler grower than most. This grows in pairs. Effectively, it's got two leads on it, and each pair has always bloomed for me. This will be the third consecutive year. The two new growths are here, pushing up nicely, and here, and it's generated a lot of new growths along the way, new roots, sorry, all over the pot, outside the pot, but luckily mainly in the pot and all around the top of the pot. So it's got a very good root system. There's no reason why both of those growths shouldn't bloom. To get progress on this plant, what I would expect to see is perhaps an extra bloom on the spike. Yeah? But we'll see how it goes. It will bloom, I forget when, but obviously these bulbs have got to mature, and then this particular Laelia, along with quite a few others, produces a very long spike before the buds form on the top. I mean, I've seen them over a metre long. I haven't had them quite that long, but my spikes are normally 18 to 20 inches long before the buds form, so they take time. So this is down the line a bit, but no reason why the two new growths shouldn't bloom. Coming on nicely. This is my Ivanagara apple blossom. It looks a bit sorry for itself. It is actually okay, but this back part of the plant got caught in the bright light and got singed a bit, which has taken the edge off some of these older leaves. It will probably shorten their life in time, but at the moment they've stayed on the plant, which is good. It's only got one new growth on it, which is pushing on nicely. No reason why that won't bloom when it matures. And that's the story of this one. It's only ever produced one new growth at a time. This year it has produced a much more extensive root system, so it's got a bit more backup on it. So maybe next time round I'll get more than one growth. But you know, otherwise a linear growth is a bit of a pain, because you're only ever going to get one spike at a time. It would be nice to have a multi-bloomer, but yeah, having caught it in the sun, that obviously set it back a bit. But new growth's looking good, so coming on. Well, this is the other one I've got that objects to too much light. Found out the hard way. Now this one did actually have a new growth here, but it aborted. That was back in the winter. The latest new growth coming on quite nicely. Excuse me. Oh, I was going to sneeze, and then I didn't. This one produces its new roots as the sort of growths are about halfway up. And I got that wrong. Last time I repotted this, I thought it was about to produce the new roots, and it didn't. But down in there are new roots, some on the surface. There are some down in the pot, and it is now producing new roots on the latest growth. So even though it's stalled a little bit because it's you repot cattleyas at the wrong time and you can lose more roots than is best for the plant, but it's picking up again now. Again, no reason, it's bloomed on every new growth, no reason why it shouldn't bloom on that one. So just a no ID hybrid, has the bright orange flowers on it, so it's one of my favourite blooms. Well, this is my tallest cattleya by far. This is Angel Heart. Sorry about interruptions, but you ever tried filming when you decide to have a sneezing fit? He's not bottable. Sorry about the breaks. Anyway, this one, when I got it, has obviously had some bacterial infection. Hang on, let's turn it round. Hopefully where it won't fall over. That's the result of something going wrong a long time ago, because that's the oldest pseudo bulb, so that's well before I got it. But that's now bad enough that those two leaves are not really serving any purpose anymore, so I'm actually going to take that bulb right off down near the base. If you take a cattleya bulb off, it doesn't always work, but here on the lowest joint, pseudo bulbs tend to have joints, yeah? Around the lowest one, there is potential for another eye to push out. It's unusual, but like if you look here, there's a dormant eye there. So if the front half of the plant was damaged, this may well be the next thing to grow, and there may be a dormant eye at the base of there. But that pseudo bulb's coming off. Just going round the rest of the bulbs. All of the bulbs that were on it with leaves when I got it are not good. So that's the worst. And then this is the next oldest one in here. But a fair bit of those leaves are still green. So the fact that this is a dry thing and not spreading, I'm going to leave those. And then these two weren't too bad, these two weren't brilliant, and then we get round to where I picked up the plant. That was my first new growth, and now this is the latest new growth. So and also it's pushing out a nice one at the base, just the one. Yeah, just the one at the moment. There are some dormant eyes around at the base of this one, like here. There is a possibility another one may push out. But anyway, since I got it, it bloomed on here, and it is a bifoliate, and this bulb only had one leaf, but still bloomed. And this one's gone back to having two leaves, as it should be. And the sheath is currently empty. It may push some buds later. I see no reason why it won't. And it's got a hell of a root system. Most of the root system on this plant starts from around the front of the plant and goes down into the pot and then comes out in various places. And obviously the roots like the tray. There's an awful lot of roots running around the bottom, actually in the water in the tray. So when I water this one, I make sure there's residual water in the tray. That's where a lot of the roots are. So that makes sure they get plenty of time to hydrate. So coming on, but that is a tall plant. It's very unsteady. If that wasn't in the clay pot, that would be over on its side frequently. But it manages to stand upright, usually with the help of a couple of plants either side of it. It's another one of the acquisitions from last year, if I remember rightly. This one put on a really good show. The set of new growths, I can't remember whether it was 2 or 3, lovely bright orange cattleya blooms, put on a really good show. I was well pleased with it. It's got a long name, Shinfong Little Sun, Young Min Golden Boy. You guess what colour that is? But this is, we've got a new growth here, new growth here, new growth here, and one round here a little bit ahead of the others, and it's pushed out quite a few new roots over this season, so it's now got quite an extensive root system in and outside the pot, and 4 new growths at different stages. Now that's good because that may produce a succession of blooms once those bulbs mature and get their buds. Obviously the large one round the back, this one will be first, and then probably these two together and that one following up behind. But to get a succession means the colour is there over a nice long period, so I'm looking forward to that again. That was a good show last time. Lovely blooms, lovely colour. So coming on well. This is just a no ID cattleya. This is half of the plant. I split the plant in two. The other half went away on the giveaway drawer, so somebody else will be growing that now. Can't remember who. But this is another one that likes to put its roots down in the tray, so I always make sure that there's some excess water in the tray before I put it back. What the roots don't use, the pot will soak up, so it's not like they'll be sat in water for any length of time. Latest growth on this one, pushing on nicely. Already forming its sheath. That's how this one grows. Every growth on this one has bloomed so far. As I say, this is the top half of the plant. Linear growth pattern as yet. And this one, we're already maturing our leaf. Now the fans are going to come off. They've beaten me. And no sign of any new roots on the growth on this one, even though it's already forming its sheath. Yeah, so it just goes to show that the roots come out at different times on different cattleyas. There is no real pattern, and you can't say that, oh, that's a unifoliate, so they grow differently. So I was just getting that sheath off because I was aware that I do believe there's some scale lurking on this one. Only a couple, but a couple's too many. Yeah, there are a few. I sprayed that not that long ago, so the chances are they're actually dead. But yeah, there's a few around the base there. Do they just wipe off? No, they don't. Alright, so I'll have to give it another spray then. The problem is, you see, there was a dormant eye there. There's another dormant eye there. And can you see how they've got behind it? See the white around the top of that dormant eye? That probably means they've destroyed it from behind. Yeah, so you've got to watch the flipping things. And if I spray that plant, those behind there probably won't die. Yeah, even though it's a systemic. They're in there so tight, and that eye is against the plant. So I'll have a hell of a job to get rid of those. So chances are I'll lose that dormant eye as a consequence. It's funny how going around the cattleyas, you sort of have a good look over and you think, no, that one's fine. And you get to the next one and it's not. And you think, well, why is one okay and one not? They're all next to each other, they're all touching, but they have a preference, same as everything else. When you go up to the salad bar with your plate in your hand, you've got your favourites, and I'm sure they have as well. And this seems to be one of them. And it looks like I'm about to lose another fan, but that is my oldest one. If you watch it as it oscillates, look at the speed. You see it slowing down until it really, really slows down as it gets to, it's almost stopping. And then it speeds up again as it comes back round. So I don't think that one's long for this world. That is a very old fan. That's been up in that roof, upside down, for a hell of a long time. So it's done well. And it's the one that gets used a lot. It's where it's upside down, it's even pulled itself away from the casing. It's dropped about 1.5 inches. So I think it's about time that one got replaced. I don't want to be without that one because that's the one that keeps the hot air moving around the roof area. So that's quite important. So more expense, but these things happen. I'm sure if I paid for an industrial fan, built to be on 24/7 and things like that, I'm sure they'd last an awful lot longer, but then they'll cost 10 times as much. So it's quite nice now and again to get a new piece of equipment. Like I had to get this one broke not that long ago, so I got a nice new one, So yeah, I think that one's had its day. I will do the same as I did with the this fan up here when it's seized up. Just try putting a little bit of oil on the bearing and see if it will loosen it up. But that almost seems like something snarling up as it oscillates. It slows right down at that point and then speeds up again. Anyway, I will look into that. More work. I'll turn that off while I finish this filming because it's obviously not happy. But I will now have to speed up and get this little section done. How much more have I got to do? I might actually split it in two because I need to do that fan before the heat gets too hot in here. I mean, that's set at 23, that thermostat. But it's going to build up in here. The sun's just catching the corner now, and I need to get that down out of the roof. That means finding where it's plugged in and unthreading the wires and everything like that. So I'll have to get on with it. So this will probably be the last one on this clip, and then I'll carry on where I left off. Now this one, if you look at the base of this one, it's covered in scale, But I've just tried wiping these, and most of these just wipe off, so they got killed last time, they're just still there. If you want to be safe, quite honestly, with scale, get yourself a cotton wool bud and some alcohol and wipe them off. If you can see them, wipe them off, and then you don't end up killing the same ones 3 or 4 times thinking you've got new ones when you haven't, if you see what I mean. Yeah. And the best thing with Cattleyas is just get the sheaths off, just get them out of the way, because that's where they hide. They'll also get down in the media, so if you've got them, they are very difficult to get rid of. Anyway, this one's got a nice new growth round here, and then round the other side of the plant, it's got another nice new growth, a little bit further ahead. So this one will bloom first, followed by the other one, so again a succession. But somewhere on this plant there's a bonus. Where is it? Ah, here. There's a distinct swelling at the base of this previous cane. That may mean it's going to push up another lead. So there's 2 dormant eyes there, one of which looks like it's beginning to swell. Now if I can get a 3rd lead on this, that'll be absolutely wonderful. The blooms are gorgeous on this. This is another orange one. This is Young Min Orange. It's all in the name, you know. Bifoliate again, strong grower, good roots, coming on well. But the scale are a hindrance. Now that might look like a lot, that's still not a worry for me. It's a worry when they start getting up on the leaves. Yeah, because then they'll damage buds, they'll damage leaves and leave marks around. They can't do much harm on a cane, but they can harm the dormant eyes on Cattleyas. So they're still better off dead. So I'll have to get on and deal with that one. And then I'll leave it at that for now, because I want to get on with this fan. Because it's going to be needed in half an hour's time. If that fan's not on, it's going to get far too hot in here, so I need to work on that. And I'll carry on next time. So that's knocked a few more out. And as I say, I'll pick up where I left off, do them a bit at a time, till eventually I've tried to cover everything. I'm sure I'll miss a few, but that's knocked out at least most of the holey clay pots. There aren't too many left. Well, that's got it running full speed. Just put a little bit of oil on the spindle, but I've had to stop it oscillating, which is a nuisance because that won't do the whole of the roof area now. It'll only do one bit, which is a nuisance, but it'll do until another one arrives and we can sort of start again. See, that's I think this one was an 18-inch one and that was a 16-inch one. I may try and get an 18-inch one for up there, simply because they move the air better, but without such a gale. It just seems that the bigger fan can produce just as much airflow, if not more, without turning so fast. Because that one's on like speed 2 at the moment. You know, you can see plants are getting blasted all over the place. But whereas this one produces a nice movement at less speed. So I'll see what I can do. But yeah, that's definitely on the way out. So preempt it failing completely and get another one.